election is about three things. It's about values, middle-class values. Values that people were born in this state, in the middle class, who understood that hard work needs to be rewarded, that understands that jobs need to be grown, that understands that we need to compete for each and every job that we bring back to our state, that we understand that people have a right to raise their families with the kind of income that will allow them to meet their aspirations for themselves, their children, and their grandchildren. This election is about values, and we better make clear to the people of the state of Connecticut we're talking about their values. Will be about experience. I thank John for referencing some of the things that I've done in my life. As a former prosecutor, tried 23 felony cases and had convictions in 22 of those. As a member of the Board of Education and the Board of Finance in my city for 12 years, understanding the day-to-day work of making a government be responsive to the people. And then as 14 years as the mayor of the city of Stamford, that kind of experience, lowering crime by 63%, bringing new jobs and new employers to our community, building affordable housing, closing or working on closing the achievement gap, bringing about universal pre-kindergarten, running a nursing home, making sure that the job gets done, that people have a city that they can be proud of. I want a state that we can be proud of, and that's why I run for governor. And finally, and most importantly, this is about trust. What individual? What party? What collection of ideas do we trust to lead us in these most difficult times? It's going to be hard. Tough decisions to be made. A world of worry out there that everyone is experiencing. After all, there are unions represented in this room where 30, 35, upwards of 40% of your folks are not working at this very moment. After all, we live in a state, and I know what the actual numbers are, but I'm telling you, I think the actual real unemployment number, when you consider those people who have given up trying to find a job, is 10%, and another 20% are underemployed, and another 70% fear that they're going to lose their job tomorrow. Who do we trust? What party, what ideas, what values do we trust to turn this state around? If we can focus the electorate on our values, on our experience, and get them to trust us to lead this state for the first time in a generation, we will win this election in overwhelming fashion. We just simply need to come together around the ideas that we talk about. Listen, we have the greatest workforce in America. We have the best trained, the hardest working, the most efficient people. What we haven't had is a government that worked with them, and that changes on January 5th. I've referenced some of the tough decisions. You're union leaders. You know how tough it is. You've all had to trim your belts. You've all had to find more efficient and cheaper ways to get the job done. You've had to counsel people who are out of work. I know that you know how hard my job is going to be. And I expect to learn from you the things that we can do to make the right decisions to turn this state around. I've watched as you've worked and reached out to people. You've competed. You've changed your own methods and your own ways of doing business. Just as you continue to argue the case of labor in the state of Connecticut, you have found less expensive ways to get it done. In part, that will be the challenge of the next administration. How do we make sure that we continue to build, or we begin the process of building our economy, even though we have an electorate that wants to make sure that we're going to try to find those efficiencies to get the job done? How do we balance this budget? $3.4 billion out of balance, a structural deficit that has grown over the years. How do we do that in the most humane way, in a way that, again, establishes our economy as something that's ready to take off? See, what I'm trying to say to you is that this next administration has to be about inclusion, about reaching out and getting more and better ideas, of sitting down with labor and management and making sure that we're turning this state around, that understands that the middle class needs to make a comeback, that they need to be supported, that they have themselves great ideas and great efficiencies to create. For too long, so many of you in this room, representing those middle class values which I hold so dear, have been turned away from the gates of government. Your opinions never taken. Your thoughts ignored. Your ideas of how to save money and recreate Connecticut in a more efficient and competitive model long ignored. Those days are over.
All right.
A new day has begun. It began on primary night. It continues on this Monday. It will go through September and October. And on November 2nd, we together will have a resounding victory. I need you. I need you to get my message out. I need every person that you work with, every person you represent, every person of goodwill in the state of Connecticut to understand that Democrats know how to run things well, and we're going to get this state going. I need you, I need you, I need you.
I'm Dan Malloy, and I approve this message.